Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice 10-game Major League Baseball slate. Before I get started, you can guys smash that like and subscribe button. Let's check out the weather today. I don't think we're gonna have too many issues, so that's nice. But let me double check it just to make sure here. So, yep, we don't have any issues on this slate. It's a very nice weather day for baseball. So, overall, this is a bigger slate, which, if you've watched my videos before, you know that I tend to play light on these bigger slates, and so do keep that in mind. Pitching is also somewhat weird today because we really only have one guy that looks really good, and then obviously we got a lot of guys that have low K rates and stuff like that. So, but we'll get into that. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get into our pitching. So we will start with Chris Sale for Atlanta. He's been one of the better pitchers all season long. He's had a couple off games, but he's still limiting the earned runs for the most part, and he's got the highest K rate on the slate by quite a bit. I think Colorado's probably one of the weakest teams that's not in Colorado, which also helps. It is at home for him, which he's been very solid this season. He also just doesn't give up many home runs, so that definitely give him a lot of potential as well. And so he is a core play for me. He'll be high owned. He's also the most expensive pitcher, but with the way the bats are today, you can definitely pay up for him. Some other pitchers to look at. Luis Castillo for Seattle has a favorable match with Oakland. He's had some inconsistencies recently, but his strikeout rate today is good enough to make him a viable option on the slate. Though Oakland does have tendency to hit some home runs, but as long as he gets the strikeouts that he's capable of, which he did the last time he played them, it shouldn't hurt him too much. Some other guys to look at would be Doug Peterson for the Mets. Peterson has been pretty decent. Now, the problem is he is facing Boston, who do have some bats that look solid, but they really don't look as good as they have lately. So he's in a really decent spot here, and he's got a good enough strikeout potential that he has some upside on the slate. A couple other guys that we'll look at would be Skeens for Pittsburgh now. His pitch limit is dropping, so to keep that in mind. And if we look at his last few games, he's been under 90 pitches in the last two, and he's been under 100 the last four. And it does look like he's going to pitch less. So if he gives up anything, that's definitely going to hurt his potential. He's also the second most expensive pitcher, so he's kind of risky on the slate. Some other guys, though: Carlos Rodon, Bibby, Bradley Singer, Harrison for Arizona, Nelson for San Francisco, and Civavel for Milwaukee. These guys all have some potential today as bust plays, but they definitely have a lot of risk. So Chris Sale definitely be the top overall guy, followed by Castillo and Peterson, and then maybe Skeens as kind of a contrarian play. Let's look at our bats today. So the bats are very interesting. We have one core play in Jorge Soler for Atlanta. I think he's going to hit home run, and so he is my top play there. So if we look at our catchers, though, William Contreras does jump off as a page as a really good play. He's got good hitting metrics, in fact, great hitting metrics today. He's also got some home run upside, so he's definitely a solid spot here. Will Smith has also been hitting the ball pretty good lately. He's got some nice upside here as a result, and he has good hitting metrics as well. Not really the home run upside today that I'd love, but and he's a little bit pricey without that home run potential, but he's definitely capable and in play today. Whoever starts at catcher for Atlanta, most likely Murphy today, will have some potential. He had a really big game against Philly last time out, and so hopefully he can continue to hit the ball better as he really has struggled this season. But he has been good against Colorado this season as well, so he's definitely worth a look there, and he's nice and cheap. Same with Cal Raleigh. He's got some really nice upside today with good hitting metrics. Not a must play, but he's definitely interesting as he did hit a home run in his last game, and he does have that home run upside today. And then another guy that I really like a lot is Gary Sanchez for Milwaukee, who has really good hitting and home run metrics today. He's dirt cheap, so he's one of the cheapest options available, and he definitely has that potential. The ownership here, top owned, will be Gary Sanchez, Will Smith, and William Contreras. So do keep that in mind. Gary Sanchez will be pretty chalky, but there's quite a few guys that actually look decent on this position. Looking at outfield or first base, I should say, Otani does come off the page with really good hitting metrics. Now he doesn't have quite the hitting metrics he's had in a few games recently, but he does have them today. He's also been getting a lot of stolen bases lately, which is really boosting his fantasy potential. Obviously, his price point of $7,000 is high, but and you'd have to pay down some other places to use him. But he's definitely capable today. Josh Naylor also looks very interesting, kind of a good contrarian play today. He's got a good home run upside, and so he's definitely worth a look. Same with Bryce Harper. He also has really good hitting and home run metrics on the slate. Fairly expensive, but a lot cheaper than Ohtani. A couple of value options at this position. They're not must place by any stretch of imagination, and I do think this is probably one of the few positions where paying up is probably a little bit better. But Rice Hoskins is available with home run metrics off the charts today. I think he has a lot of potential for that for a home run, so he's definitely worth a look here. Um, I'm also going to note Lamont Wade Jr. is kind of a cheap play with some good hitting metrics. Looking at second base, we do like Andres Jimenez today for Cleveland. He was very close to being a core play, really just a hitting guy, not really a home run heavy guy, but he's had some home runs this week. So he's definitely capable of it, but he's definitely more of just a good hitting option, and he's nice and cheap today, so he definitely gives us some potential. Now, Marcus Semien is the more expensive option at this position. He's been hitting the ball pretty inconsistent recently, but he does have good hitting metrics today, so if he can get back on track, then this is definitely a situation where he's got a favorable matchup. And then Gleyber Torres has been phenomenal at times recently. He looked absolutely great yesterday. We utilized him. He scored 17 fantasy points. I think he looks pretty solid again today. Not a must play, but very close. He'd also be pretty high owned. The ownership at this position: Gleyber Torres, Chris Taylor, and Andre Jimenez. So it's definitely good to get somewhere in the $3,000 to $4,000 range at this position. Some other guys you could consider: Whit Merrifield and Will Wagner as cheap options here. Looking at third base, we do like Jose Ramirez. He is extremely expensive, and he is going to be hard to roster. His metrics are not off the charts today, but they are decent, so he's definitely worth a look. Jazz Chisholm Jr. has been phenomenal for the Yankees since he joined the team. He's also been good against Texas this season, and he's had some monster games recently. Even without home runs, he's getting stolen bases and things. He's definitely worth a look today, and he's priced considerably cheaper than Jose Ramirez, and he's got decent hitting metrics. But if you want a value play here, Josh Jung looks phenomenal for Texas. He's been pretty good throughout the season at times. He's just a good hitter right now, and he's got good home run metrics today as well, despite the fact that he really hadn't had a ton so far this season. But he hadn't played a ton either, so he is capable and has some nice metrics today. The ownership at this position: Chris Taylor, Josh Jung, and Nolan Arenado. So I do think that you can pay up for Chisholm Jr., or you can pay down for Josh Jung, and that's pretty much the best options at that position. Looking at shortstop, we do like Bobby Witt Jr. today, though he is very expensive, and he's not really that ideal with the metrics today. He doesn't have the home run upside today that I typically like from him, but he is capable of it, so he's definitely somebody to consider. Volpe for the Yankees is going to be a contrarian play because his ownership will be low, but he's kind of sneaky today. He's been hitting the ball decently well recently, and he has some nice upside, so he's definitely worth a look with the hitting. O'Neal Cruz also very interesting today for Pittsburgh. He's a little bit pricey, but he has really fantastic home run upside today, so he's definitely worth a look from that perspective. And then Tommy Edmonds, a nice cheap play, who can also play the outfield again at $3,400. He's been hitting the ball very well recently. Not really a huge home run threat, but he's got really good hitting metrics, and he's averaging the 7 fantasy points a game over the last 10 games. Now, he hadn't played that much this season, but again, since he's joined the Dodgers, he's been pretty solid. So let's look at him as a top ownership option here, along with Willy Adames, who's a cheap, a good play with good hitting metrics here, but he's not a must play by any stretch. Miguel Rojas, also a contrarian play. If Edmund were to not play potentially, you could put Rojas in here. So looking at outfielders, Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto, all those 5,000 plus guys that have the most upside today. Now, I don't really like Soto all that much, but I think Judge, Betts, and Ohtani all have that home run upside. But some other guys that we got to consider that's a little bit cheaper, one being Toscar Hernandez. Now, he's $4,900, but he does have absolutely fantastic home run metrics today. He's kind of a guy that when I like the metrics for him, I really like him, and he definitely fits in that category on the slate. So he's definitely worth a look there. Steven Kwan also been playing pretty well at times this season. His metrics are also off the charts today with good hitting upside, though he's a little pricey for just being a hitter. But somebody I really like a lot, Jorge Soler. He's been pretty good since he joined the Braves, and I like, even though he has struggled the last week, I think he has some potential today with a home run upside, and he's one of my favorite home run plays on the slate. We also like Ramon Laureano for Atlanta, Tommy Edman for the Dodgers, Michael Harris for Atlanta, Taylor Ward for the Angels, Michael Conforto for San Francisco, and Lars Nootbaar for St. Louis. A couple kind of value Hail Mary type plays. Brewer Hicklin, $2,000 from Milwaukee. If he plays, then he's somebody you can get in the roster to help you pay up at other positions. Jakonski Noel has been phenomenal for Cleveland recently, and he's got some nice upside today. Billy McKinney for Pittsburgh, Grant McCray for San Francisco, and Mike Yastrzemski from San Francisco as well. The top ownership at this position, Tommy Edman, Michael Harris, Otani, and Mookie Betts, along with Brewer Hicklin, Blake Perkins, Toscar Hernandez, Ramon Laureano, and Juan Soto. So with that said,